As Ericsson in 2006 argued, there can exist various degrees of deliberate practice, as well as various degrees of practice qualities in a continuum that stretches from free play to deliberate practice. This is in line with what other researchers suggest, such as Van Rossum, Codd, and maybe even more. All forms of practice or play not permitted by the higher consciousness of deliberate practice lead to lower level performance, Ericsson argues, in 2006 for example. For Moxley, deliberate practice is not important only for experts. Novices benefit the same regardless of the task's difficulty. In this table from Codd and al. 2007, the differences between deliberate practice and deliberate play are described. In relation to this table, I also argue that deliberate practice must also be flexible to be successful and that it may occur in various settings as well. So this table shows the differences between deliberate play and deliberate practice, how in deliberate play something is done for its own sake, whereas in deliberate practice an activity is done to achieve a future goal. Deliberate play is enjoyable, deliberate practice is not so enjoyable, at least in the beginning. We pretend quality in deliberate play, whereas deliberate practice is carried out seriously. The interest is in the behavior in deliberate play, and in deliberate practice the interest is on the outcome of the behavior. We stress flexibility in deliberate plays. There are explicit rules in deliberate practice. The adult involvement is not required in deliberate play, whereas in deliberate practice, adult involvement is often required, and of course of specialized adults. And in deliberate play occurs in various settings, whereas deliberate practice occurs in specialized facilities. Indeed, playful and mindless routine engagement does little to affect performance in the future after the adaptations have taken place in the first stages of learning. Performers can choose, consciously or not consciously, their preferred modus operandi. Merely perform for recreation or even in higher levels, or engage in more deliberate practice activities and evolve further. This is what Moxley also stresses in an article from 2012. Till where this furtherance stretches, in other words, at what level or at which age may someone safely drop deliberate practice? The answer is that deliberate practice is necessary to learners not only to keep improving, but even to experts to maintain their exceptional levels of performance. So you never stop it. That's the idea. Let me tell you a story. Wilhelm Backhaus, the eminent Beethoven piano interpreter, is said to have intensified his practice after the age of 50 as a measure to merely maintain his level of performance. Children who excel among their peers are found to do so because they are inclined to adopt deliberate practice more than their peers do, Ericsson says in a 2006 study. Experts of any age and level engage in deliberate practice activities. Even after further performance gains through deliberate practice, some individuals quit studying this way, and it is a matter of time, even at world-class level, before the performance starts to deteriorate, as deliberate practice is necessary to maintain a high level of performing. When deliberate practice is cast aside, performance stabilizes for some period at the level where deliberate practice was abandoned. This state is known as arrested development, named from Ericsson, of course, and is followed by a decline in performance. The figure presented next depicts this notion from Ericsson 2006. Deliberate practice, as stated before, is characterized by a distinct mode mode of ever-stretching difficulties, very much like the case where successive approximations, a notion described by Alan Collins in the 80s, are made to reach the desired goal, which in turn changes or develops as a function of time and experience gathered. This important notion of continuous active modification of stimulus may be seen in the work that has been done in the past as well, such as the zones of proximal development, a work of the Russian Lev Vygotsky, 1978. Learning tasks in Lev Vygotsky's work are suggested to be situated just beyond what a student may accomplish, but not to a level of impossibility, as Oliver 1999 clarifies. Authentic learning tasks should be designed so that they are more difficult than what students may handle on their own, but can be resolved with the support of peers or teachers who model appropriate strategies. Vygotsky's stress was on apprenticeship structured learning and not on the process of study beyond an individual's current capacities per se. Sociocultural setting apart, one can identify the notion of progression in task difficulty in Vygotsky's work as is modeled in the deliberate practice theory. Now, a few words about the paradox of automatization. A paradox that one may encounter is the relation of deliberate practice to automatization. By definition, an automatic act is not a conscious act, even if it commences consciously, compared with the notion of chunking here. Deliberate practice is a concentrated effort to increase consciousness as well. How might these two be compatible, automaticity and deliberate practice? In other words, shouldn't someone just study in a fast, automatic fashion something that they are going to be performing this way, fast and automatically? To touch a bit on what schools and traditions say, Ouspensky, in the Psychology of Man's Possible Evolution, describes man as an increasingly complex machine, which, as it gets older, is loaded with even more functions to carry out automatically. The system at some point overloads. Automatization fails. The real paradox is that the more automated something is, the more it tends to fail. Automatization, of course, is nothing less than the very reason one is able to perform a sequence rapidly, but also to live a normal everyday life. For example, when I drink a cup of water, my movements are automatized. I don't have to think, open my fingers, catch the glass, lift it up, bring it close to my mouth, and so on and so forth. Okay. The solution to better quality automatization is deliberate study. The mechanism behind this phenomenon is a complex one, possibly combining elements from Schmidt's schema theory and Bernstein's dynamic systems. A ramification of this mechanism is the attacking attractor model proposed by me in a relevant publication I made. A direct mechanism for this phenomenon is proposed and presented in detail in an article by Walter Schneider and Jason Chine in 2003 called Controlled and Automatic Processing, Behavior Theory and Biological Mechanisms. So, their model of dual processing theory says, so I'm quoting them, their model of dual processing theory employs a large network of distributed data modules that can categorize, buffer, associate, and prioritize information. Each module is a connectionist network with input and output layers, and each module communicates with a central control system by outputting priority and activity report signals and by receiving control signals. The control system is composed of 5 processors, including a goal processor, an attention controller, an activity monitor, an episodic store, and a gating and report relay. The transition from controlled to automatic processing occurs in this model as the data modules become capable of transmitting their output without mediation by the control system. The conclusions the authors arrive at are also insightful as to the characteristics of automatization. So, again from Schneider and Chine. Automaticity leads to fast, parallel, robust, low-effort performance, but requires extended training, is difficult to control, and shows little memory modification. In contrast, controlled processing is slow, serial, effortful, and brittle, but it allows rule-based processing to be rapidly acquired, can deal with variable bindings, can rapidly alter processing, can partially counter automatic processes, and speeds the development of automatic processing. And this is the key frame, the speeding up of the development of automatic processing. So the paradox boils down to this. The more deliberately and consciously I study and practice, the better the quality of my automized skills will be. And from my publications, for my publication, you see this next figure where I show two cases. In the first case, practice is more than performance, okay, because acting in an automated way worsens performance, okay, performance worsens skills, so to say. So if I practice more than the amount of time I spend performing, then my performance, my skills develop and my performance is growing. But if my practice isn't enough, my performance at first, as Ericsson predicts, of course, does not grow, it's stable, and then it starts deteriorating. That's the second case.